Ladies and gentlemen, gather round because today we're diving into the conspiracy theory that makes flat earthers look like Nobel Prize winners. Picture this. It's 2020. You're stuck at home, binge-watching Netflix in your pajamas for the 47th consecutive day, and suddenly your Uncle Gary, the one who thinks birds aren't real, slides into your DMs with a YouTube link claiming COVID-19 was just an elaborate hoax by Big Pharma to sell vaccines. Now, before you click away thinking, oh great, another sheep defending the mainstream narrative, wait. Because by the end of this video, you'll have enough scientific ammunition to shut down Uncle Gary's conspiracy theories faster than a Zoom meeting when someone forgets to mute themselves. But here's the kicker, and this is why you need to stick around. We're not just going to tell you these theories are wrong. We're going to take them apart piece by piece, using actual science, real data, and just enough sarcasm to make it entertaining. Because let's face it, if we're going to debunk conspiracy theories, we might as well have some fun doing it, right? So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's separate the facts from the fiction in this wild ride through one of the most persistent conspiracy theories of our time. The main event, setting the stage. Meet your conspiracy theory. All right, so what exactly are we dealing with here? The COVID-19 conspiracy theories come in more flavors than a Baskin-Robbins, but they all boil down to a few main ingredients. Theory number 1. COVID-19 was completely fake. Just a regular flu rebranded to scare people. Theory number 2. The virus was real, but artificially created by pharmaceutical companies to sell vaccines. Theory number 3. It was engineered by shadowy global elites as part of some new world order master plan. Now, I've got to hand it to conspiracy theorists. They've got imagination. I mean, coordinating a global pandemic involving hundreds of countries, millions of healthcare workers, and somehow keeping them all quiet? That's some next-level logistics right there. The UN can't even agree on lunch orders, but apparently, they can orchestrate the greatest deception in human history. Let's talk numbers, because math doesn't lie. First things first, was COVID-19 real? Well, unless you think the entire global medical community decided to simultaneously role-play the world's most depressing game of make-believe, then yes, it was very real. By the time the pandemic was declared over, we're talking about over 7 million deaths worldwide. That's not just the flu, bro. For perspective, that's like the entire population of Switzerland just disappearing. And before someone says, but they died with COVID, not from COVID, excess mortality data shows we had significantly more deaths than expected during pandemic years, even accounting for other causes. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Recent surveys suggest that virologists and other scientists with relevant expertise favor the view that the pandemic began when a natural virus jumped from an animal to a human, not because of an accident in a research lab studying or manipulating coronaviruses. But wait. There's more drama than a reality TV show because the CIA recently assessed with low confidence that a research-related origin of the COVID-19 pandemic is more likely than a natural origin. So, even the experts are having a bit of a scholarly slap fight about the origins. But here's the crucial point that conspiracy theorists love to ignore. There's a huge difference between it might have accidentally leaked from a lab studying natural viruses and it was deliberately engineered by Big Pharma to sell vaccines. The Big Pharma angle. Following the money. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Did pharmaceutical companies make a boatload of money from COVID vaccines? Absolutely. Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna, and Sinovac made an extraordinary $90 billion in profits on their COVID-19 vaccines in 2021 and 2022. But here's where conspiracy theorists commit what I like to call the causation fallacy. Just because companies made money after the pandemic doesn't mean they caused the pandemic. By that logic, umbrella companies cause rain, and ice cream vendors cause summer. Let's think about this logically for a hot second. If Big Pharma wanted to create a fake pandemic to sell vaccines, wouldn't they have, I don't know, Had the vaccines ready before releasing the virus? Instead, we saw them scrambling for months to develop vaccines while the world was literally falling apart. That's like planning a heist, but forgetting to bring the getaway car. The timeline that breaks the theory. Here's where the conspiracy falls apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. The timeline just doesn't add up. COVID-19 was first identified in late 2019. The first vaccines weren't approved until late 2020. Almost a full year later. If this was all a master plan, it was the worst executed scheme in history. During that year, the global economy lost trillions of dollars, travel industries collapsed, restaurants closed, and entertainment venues shut down. So we're supposed to believe that pharmaceutical companies convinced every other industry on Earth to sacrifice their profits so that Big Pharma could make money? That's like believing McDonald's convinced every other restaurant to close so they could sell more Big Macs. The math just doesn't math. The global coordination problem. Let's talk about the sheer impossibility of coordinating a global conspiracy of this magnitude. We're talking about keeping hundreds of thousands of doctors, nurses, researchers, government officials, and scientists across 195 countries all on the same page about a fake pandemic. Have you ever tried to plan a surprise party for 10 people? Someone always spills the beans. But somehow, we're supposed to believe that millions of healthcare workers worldwide all agreed to pretend there was a pandemic, watch people die, and keep quiet about it. And what about countries that hate each other? You think the US, China, Russia, and Iran all got together in some secret meeting and said, "Hey, guys, let's all pretend there's a pandemic so American pharmaceutical companies can make money." Please. These countries can't agree on anything. But apparently, they're best buddies when it comes to elaborate medical hoaxes. The science speaks, and it's got receipts. The scientific evidence for COVID-19 being real is overwhelming. We've got electron microscope images of the virus, complete genetic sequencing studies showing how it affects different organ systems, research demonstrating its transmission patterns, evidence of long-term effects in survivors. But conspiracy theorists have a neat trick. They dismiss any evidence that contradicts their beliefs as part of the conspiracy. It's like playing whack-a-mole with facts. Present scientific evidence. The scientists are bought and paid for. Show government data. The government is in on it. Share international studies. It's a global conspiracy. It's the perfect unfalsifiable belief system. Any evidence against it just proves how deep the conspiracy goes. It's intellectually bulletproof because it refuses to engage with reality. The motive mismatch. Let's pretend for a moment that pharmaceutical companies could orchestrate a global pandemic. Why would they choose a respiratory virus that primarily affects older adults and people with comorbidities? If you're going to fake a pandemic for profit, wouldn't you create something that requires ongoing treatment rather than a one-time vaccine? Think about it. Chronic diseases are much more profitable than vaccines. Diabetes medications, blood pressure pills, cholesterol drugs. These are taken daily for years. Vaccines, you get a few shots and you're done. From a pure evil capitalist perspective, COVID vaccines are terrible recurring revenue models. The technology reality check. Another thing conspiracy theorists overlook is the sheer technological impossibility of what they're claiming. Creating a virus from scratch that behaves exactly like a natural coronavirus, has the right genetic markers, spreads through populations in predictable patterns, and causes the specific organ damage we observe? That's beyond our current capabilities. We're talking about biological engineering that makes the Manhattan Project look like a high school science fair. And somehow, they managed to do this while keeping it completely secret, involving zero whistleblowers, and leaving no digital footprints in our hyper-connected world. The vaccine development reality. The speed of vaccine development also gets conspiracy theorists excited. How could they develop vaccines so quickly unless they already had them prepared? Well, here's the thing. Scientists had been studying coronaviruses for decades, after SARS and MERS. The technology for mRNA vaccines had been in development for years. When COVID hit, researchers had a head start because of all the previous work on related viruses. It's like asking how someone can build a house so quickly after they've been collecting materials and drawing blueprints for years. The foundation was already there. Plus, the vaccines weren't developed in isolation. Governments threw unlimited money and resources at the problem, removed regulatory bottlenecks, and allowed parallel processing instead of sequential testing phases. It's amazing what you can accomplish when bureaucracy gets out of the way and money is no object. The Occam's razor test. Here's where we apply Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually correct. What's more likely? Option A. A respiratory virus naturally jumped from animals to humans, like SARS, MERS, swine flu, bird flu, and countless other zoonotic diseases throughout history, spread globally because we live in a connected world with air travel, and pharmaceutical companies developed vaccines using existing technology and made profits, like they do with every medical treatment. Option B. A shadowy cabal of global elites, pharmaceutical companies, government agencies, international health organizations, and millions of healthcare workers across every country on Earth coordinated the most complex deception in human history, involving fake deaths, manufactured evidence, controlled media, and suppressed alternatives, all to sell vaccines, which aren't even the most profitable medical products. I don't know about you, but I'm going with option A, the real lessons. Here's what's actually worth being concerned about. Yes, pharmaceutical companies did make enormous profits from COVID vaccines. Yes, there were instances of price gouging and patent hoarding that prevented vaccines from reaching developing countries quickly enough. Yes, some companies used the crisis to their advantage in ways that weren't always ethical. These are legitimate criticisms that deserve attention and reform. But there's a huge difference between companies took advantage of a crisis and companies created the crisis. One is corporate opportunism, which happens all the time. The other is a global conspiracy of unprecedented scale and complexity. Conclusion. Look, I get it. The world felt pretty scary during the pandemic. People lost jobs, lost loved ones, lost their sense of normalcy. In times of uncertainty, conspiracy theories offer something appealing. They make the chaos seem planned, the random seem purposeful, and the complex seem simple. But here's the thing about reality. It's messy, complicated, and doesn't always have satisfying explanations. Sometimes a pandemic is just a pandemic. Sometimes viruses jump from animals to humans, because that's what viruses do. Sometimes pharmaceutical companies make money, because that's how the economy works. Research shows that an estimated 30% of some populations subscribe to some form of COVID medico-scientific conspiracy narratives, with detrimental impacts for themselves and others. That's a lot of people choosing comforting fiction over uncomfortable reality. The real conspiracy isn't a fake pandemic. It's the spread of misinformation that makes people distrust the very institutions and experts who are trying to help them navigate real crises. That's the conspiracy theory we should all be worried about. So the next time Uncle Gary sends you a link claiming COVID was fake, you can respond with facts, evidence, and just enough scientific knowledge to make him think twice. Because critical thinking isn't just about debunking conspiracy theories. It's about building a society that can handle real problems with real solutions. And that, my friends, is how you fact-check your way out of a conspiracy theory rabbit hole. Thanks for watching Debunk Factory, where we make science accessible and conspiracy theories accountable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with anyone who needs a dose of critical thinking. See you next time.